Hi folks, my name is Darren Ray Fonso, and I want to talk to you about workers' compensation in Washington State and across America today. And today the topic's going to be our leaders and our progressive leaders, and today particularly Bernicrats, and how Senator Sanders has asked and sent a letter, as many injured workers know, to the U.S. Department of Labor, along with Senator Patty Murray and some other folks. So we have Bernicrats and Clintonites both sending a letter to the U.S. Department of Labor back in 2015 to Tom Perez, requesting that we have federal minimum standards over our broken state work comp systems. And so what we're trying, to get done now is to basically have that happen, because, if that's something Bernie wants to have happen, then we need his Bernicrats to help make that happen. And what I'm also going to call for here today, I'm going to go ahead and let this other gentleman introduce her from this program that is actually a beautiful program, that is a progressive program that I like, but some folks from the other side of the fence may not like it. So that's why I'm going to cut it down to just the part where this lady talks about workers' comp and addresses the work comp issue here in America today. And so that the other side can hear what my side is having to say, the Bernicrats are having to say. We're having to fight the corporate Dems, though. So that's a problem. We are against a battle here. So what I'm going to call out to my injured workers on the other side is that if you can find somebody like this Bernicrat here who will stand up and demand and call for the federal minimum oversight that even Richard Nixon said we needed 30 years ago and we still need today, then please call them out or question them out on websites like I'm trying to do with my Democratic Party. Call out your side and maybe clean up your side a little bit or whatever, and find out if they will be there to help us. Or are they still going to tell us all it's a state fix? Because that's what we're hearing a lot from the corporate Dems, and I'm sure we're going to hear that from the Republicans as well, because nobody wants this issue to be addressed and fixed the way it needs to be, and the way even some a conservative president 30 years ago said needed to be done, and it was a whole group of people actually that got together back then that created to address the issue, and they've also done it again now, and there still are some calls for some federal oversight. So to have some minimum standards, just like we have a minimum federal wage. So anyways, I'm going to cut this short right there. And like I say, I reach out to the other side of the aisle and say that please, if you got somebody out there that will speak up for the minimum federal standards like some of these Bernicrats are, at least one now that I've got to speak up loud and clear. I'm still working on that. We'll hopefully get more, and hopefully Senator Sanders will come out and speak up again, and hopefully Patty Murray will speak up again, because this silence is harming us. And we need leaders from every side to speak up and tell us the truth about the war on injured workers, and that's just not happening. And so anyways, I'm appealing to the other side basically to say, if you can find me someone like that, please do, because I would like them to work with this young lady and work together and maybe get stuff fixed for the injured workers of America, instead of having us shunned the way we have had us done for the last 30 years, or have some other deal where they try to opt out, where the injured workers get screwed over in the end, because you lose your rights, and opt out helps nobody except the employers and the big insurers, and that needs to stop as well. But what we do need is some minimum federal standards, and I will let this young lady explain it to you. Take it away.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to We the People. Tonight, We the People meet Roza Calderon. She's running in California's 4th Congressional District, and she is a geoscientist. And I am very excited to talk to her about what that is and what she does, and all the activism that she's been doing, according to her website. Roza, thank you for joining us on We the People.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. I love having scientists that are running for office. It really is awesome. I appreciate you running. But before we talk about that, I'd like to bring on Laura Livengood, because she is going to explain to everybody, hi Laura, how we do engagement broadcasting. Laura's going to take your questions. Tell them how to engage.
Well, It couldn't be easier. This is an engagement broadcast, which means you, if you're watching live, you lucky people, get to ask questions during the broadcast of Rosa. So if you have a question for her, please write the word question all in caps or tag me in chat, and I will ask at the appropriate moment. I will also put Rosa's website in chat so that you can answer some of your preliminary questions first. And we look forward to talking to Rosa and asking your questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura.
You're welcome.
Right.
Why?
Like Bernie's one of the few that still has under $1 million, and when he shows we're going to go to Laura Livengood. Thank you for your response. I really appreciate that answer. That was honest, and I appreciate that. Laura's got some questions, and by the way, Expanding Electrons, thank you so much. We're having a great discussion in chat, I see.
Oh yes. So this is from Darren. Darren's very passionate about this, and I think I've simplified his basic question, but it really stems about how we are letting down our injured workers. And she's wondering, do you support Senator Sanders' call for federal oversight of state work comp systems? Feels like we are really letting our injured workers down in California, and wonder what you thought about that.
Yeah, so, in California, we have a lot of issues that I think that most people just keep saying they're state issues. But I think at the federal level, there is always something that we can do. And that is always done by incentives, right? Here in California, I used to work in construction, and I used to see how workman's comp used to work. In fact, my boyfriend, he's actually one of the people who was injured here in California. And after you meet a certain amount of days, you're kicked off the program. So you either you're rushed to either settle with the company that you were hurt with. And the deals aren't really there. And there's really no support at the state level to guide you through the process. And so there's really no oversight. I mean, so a lot of these companies are getting away with really murder. They're paying out people for fractures to their spine, at $10,000, $17,000 when they know that the lifelong care is going to be well into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's just one of the reasons why I support Medicare expansion for all, so that people are not stuck with these enormous bills that they're going to have to fork out of nowhere. I mean, the amount that people are being charged for doctor visits and follow-ups are absurd, and no one can afford them. So it just leaves more room for more injuries in the future. And I believe that we can have some real progress if the federal decides to have oversight in every state. And I'm telling you that because California has higher standards than other states. So I can't imagine what's happening in other states.
Yeah.
Wow. Know your stuff there.
Yeah, I think he's speaking in terms like of what he's seeing in Washington. It feels like war against workers, and they're really being let down.
Absolutely.
So,
well, yeah,
I mean,
that's one. Yeah. Thank you.
I think he's happy. Darren, you happy? Oh, Darren's happy. I can tell.
Any other questions, Laura?
That's it for right now.
Awesome.
I wanted to get that one in.
Wow. Isn't that what I've been calling on one of them to please speak up and say? I'm so glad she did that. And what we need more so than just her and Amy Villela and Randy Bryce and all the other ones, and Tamarini Borelli here in my state. What we need more so than just you guys speaking up, or this one lady speaking up. What we need is the progressive media outlet and this uphill media to be hitting hard on this question with every one of these Bernicrat candidates, because we're not going to get things fixed if they're not on the same page as Bernie Sanders. And I'm sorry if you shouldn't be endorsing folks that are not on the same page as Sanders on this issue. And I'm sorry this issue isn't going to get fixed just with single payer alone, because it doesn't take care of the time loss or anything else. So if you're living in a tent, it's great that you're going to have free care, but if you don't you can't survive and live because you don't have time loss payments and you can't have access to vocational services to be retrained, just getting the care is only half the problem. And so it's like it's putting a banning on things for injured workers, and it's not actually helping us in the end. And actually it's cost shifting us off to the federal rolls, just the way we're already happening with the ACA. And that's the whole problem here, why we need some minimum federal standards, is to stop the taxpayers from having to pay what is the burden of the insurance companies and the employers. all for better state comp rates, and a race to the bottom that is harming us all. So what I want to know is, where are these other voices like Randy Boyce and Amy Villela and all our great progressive candidates that we got out there? Where are they picking up this mantle and also speaking up loud and clear and just as hard for single payer, for some minimum federal standards for aging injured workers as they are for minimum wage? You know, if they can fight as hard for on the front end for 15 an hour, why not fight for us as hard on the back end of our careers, when we're being harmed and injured and purged to the streets after injured on the jobs? So anyways, that I want to put that out there, is where are all the other progressive voices as a war is waged on American injured workers? You can't just say you're going to fight for patients' rights, but then not say you're going to fight for workers' rights as well. And this is human rights as well. And like we say, it's a patients' rights issue when you bring in the state med tort laws that also need policed. But nobody's talking about that. But at least we could start with the work comp part of it and some federal oversight there. And then also what I want to know is why my Washington State Bernicrat coalition, I've reached out to them and they've let me post stuff all over, and basically they've told me they have tolerated me, and it's hard to, because I yell and scream, because that's all anybody does is tolerate me. They don't speak up, they don't ask questions of our leaders and call them out to see if they're going to be on the same page as Sanders or not. Then no wonder I yell and scream and I get upset. These are the people who are supposed to be there helping me. And anyways, they did reach out to try and help me. They had sent one of their Bernicrats, was my local guy, to go to one of my Snohomish County local meets, my PCO. He's a precinct captain for my Democratic Party. He did go to try to get some help, and he did come back and have some offerings, but it basically was like giving the dog a bone again. They're going to tell us, oh, we can get you some of this, we might be able to get you a state ombudsman and a couple other issues, but nothing about the, talking about the federal oversight. But yet, down at these local Democrats, this was supposed to be my Bernicrat running this meeting. So apparently, out of this meeting, the Bernicrat and the Democrats can't come together, even though Senator Tom Perez, the Democratic Chair Tom Perez says we need federal oversight. Patty Murray says we need federal oversight. So plus Senator Bernie Sanders. So we got Clintonites and Bernicrats both saying we need this federal oversight, but for some reason at the federal level, none of these people seem to want to fight for that, nor not endorse anybody who will not fight for that. I'm questioning why that is. So if this is supposed to be a grassroots uproot group movement from the grassroots level, from the ground up, then how come my voice ain't getting heard here in Seattle area from the progressives? And even though it's being heard, why is it kind of being shunned or just tolerated, rather than pinning down these candidates like Amy Villela and Tamirini Borelli and David McDivitt and Pramila Jayapala? There's one we need to talk about before you go patting her on the little pompous little butt there. No. She needs to speak out. She knows she has a voice box, and she knows she very well needs to start stepping up and speaking out. And Kashmir Sawant, you need to get on the same page here. You're supposed to be for labor. Then why are you not speaking up as a war is waged on injured workers in America today? And telling us the solution that we need is some minimal federal standards, like you fight for your 15 an hour. Where are you, girl? I want to know. Okay, and so then we go with that. So anyways, yeah, the PCO went to there, and he came back, and that's what he came back with to give us injured workers here in the state of Washington and my local thing. So hurrah, yes, I want to applaud him. He did do, he tried to do something, but I don't, we're still being ruled by the same people, because it's nothing different is happening here. It's the same old story I'm getting from the same old local Democrats, that nobody wants to do what Senator Bernie Sanders or Patty Murray has said needs to be done for the workers of America. And then the fact that they are only saying, well, now we can get you a state ombudsman, Darren. We're going to put that on the plate, and we're going to get that for you. We might be able to get that. Well, bravo. Go ahead, Progressive Washington Coalition. We do need that. Yes, that's something. But that's something that's been on the burner for 5 years or 8 years now. We have legislation already written for that. Senator Mike Sells, who I talked to on the phone just 4 years ago myself, told me back then that they needed a state ombudsman for all workers, not just the self-insured ones, that we have legislation ready to go for that, but that the Republicans stood in their way and we couldn't get it done and their hands were tied. So now they just passed the previous legislation where we have complete Democratic control here in Washington State of the House and the, both sides and the governorship and everything. Rerun the whole show. And yet, only thing we could do is get some stuff passed for at Hanford, which is like a dog and pony show where we got going, where we're only going to stand up and fight for a few Hanford workers, and not the rest of nobody else is going to get this same coverage. It's awesome that they got that, hurrah! But still, it's like a dog and pony show, misdirection to say, well, don't look at this other problem where we got 400 farm workers are saying they're being harmed, and that our program has failed them, and even though the U.S. Department of Labor is saying that we're failing them. But what I'm more interested in is why is it that that Senator Mike Sells, who's still in there, he's still part of all this democratic process now, and all of them are there together. If they could come together and get PTSD coverage for first responders, which that was great too. But yeah, here it is once again, union members. So we're fighting for the union members and them at the state level, and we're getting state fixes at the state level. And now, since you fought so hard, Darren, we might throw the dog a bone and you injured workers a bone and get you a state ombudsman for everybody. But that's something that was already done, should have been fought for. And I want to know, I really want to know, when I've been begging for help for injured workers in the state of Washington for the last 4, 5, 6 years now here, why it is that the Democratic Party didn't already just put that on the plate just now, since they had full control. Master Mike Sells, Senator Mike Sells, or Representative Mike Sells, whatever it is, you're my state man right here in my town, brother. Where you at? You're supposed to represent labor. You sat on the labor chair committee. You're the one that I've read a lot of the stuff from. I've learned a lot from what you wrote back a few years ago, before 2010. Yet here it is. You still aren't standing out, coming out and saying, hurrah, yeah, let's stand up and let's get what Sanders says we need. Why is that, Mike Sells? I really want to know. And I want to know why this local Democrat, Snohomish County Democratic Committee, whatever it is that Mr. Jason Call, my PCO, was supposed to go there and seek help for the injured workers and was going to share all my information, and all he can come back with is the dog, giving the dog a bone, the same thing that Mike Sells kind of offered to me a long time ago, but said, Republicans are in the way from getting it. No, something is rotten in Denmark here, and people are making money in bank off harming injured workers. We're proving that, and so this young lady has told us this needs to be addressed. She also, though, is like a lot of the Bernicrats and like to say, well, we're going to get you the single payer, and I'm sorry, just single payer alone does not solve the situation. We need both of the problems addressed at the same time, and to not address them both at the same time is to kind of shun the injured workers in a way, because you're only fighting for one thing, the one program we're going to be cost shifted off to, but you don't want to fight for our rights. But you're fighting for us and want us to stand up and vote for a program, which I agree with and that we need, but it's only going to help the injured workers for us to be cost shifted off to it. It doesn't help with the rest of the problems or the war that's being waged upon us if we don't address, having vocational service and time loss when you're trying to recover or you're injured on the job. And so I'm going to leave it at that. So, like I say, I agreed with this lady. Everything she had to say is because I'm a Bernicrat, and I have no problem with saying that. And I've been a bleeding heart liberal throughout this process, and I've said that throughout the process. I believe every human deserves the workers' comp. I believe every human that is working deserves to be treated right if they're harmed or injured on the job. And I don't care where that human come from or who is exploiting them or not exploiting them. You get harmed, you are covered in America. And that needs to be that. And I'll leave that there at that today. Because if there's anybody out there that, number one, can find me another Bernicrat that wants to speak up and tell the truth and get real and get on the same page as Bernie and Senator Patty Murray to help the injured workers of America, instead of just telling us, well, we're going to help you with this one health care there. If you can find anybody else out there, please let me know, because I would like to share their information with the injured workers of the world, because they are watching. And no matter what side of the fence you're on, you're watching me try to seek help from these people here. And this is the side I'm trying to seek help from, because I've tried seeking help from the other side, and they definitely closed the door on me. They, too, called the cops on me. Yeah, Senator Padden's office here in Washington State. Yeah, Mike Padden. The guy who's supposed to be on, like, some kind of ethics committee here for our state. Ethics, mother. I'm going to keep the language clean. Don't get me down that roads of ethics there, Mr. Padden, when you won't stand up and tell us that we have a failing injured work comp system that is intently failing the injured workers of America, and you know it, and you won't step up and say what needs to be done here, brother. Where are you at as the injured workers of Washington State and across of America are being cheated so that corporations and states can get better comp rates and a race to the bottom? I'm sorry, brother. We're not going to all be working barefoot and for 50 cents an hour to make you and your brother fucking happy. And I don't care if you're which side of the fence you're on. You need to stop this war on the poor and injured workers. Thanks, and have a great day. And do check out this young lady and a lot of the other Bernicrats and make sure and hold their political feet to the fire. And I tell you also to go to your own pages, because injured workers can't get out a lot. And that's the other problem that we have and why we can't get our voices heard. And I understand that, and I can feel it. And even if you could get out, they make you feel so whatever. You can't even do it. So I am showing the injured workers of America that we can fight back, or we can try to get our voices heard. They still try to close us out a lot, and we're having Facebook close us out a lot. But there are ways around that, and just keep at it. And like I say, get on YouTube, get on Google, get on every freaking site you can find out, LinkedIn, every one of them, and fight back and get your voice heard and demand. Go and call out these leaders, these senators, everybody that's running for office right now, and say, hey, what are you going to do about injured workers? Hey, Senator McRogers here in my state. I think she's a Republican fighting against Laura Brown, and Laura Brown too, both of you. I hate to say the word ALEC whores, but that comes to mind when neither one of you will stand up and speak for the federal oversight and minimum standards that Bernie Sanders says we need, and that actually, like I say, President Nixon said we needed 30 years ago in a commission that he did, a bilateral commission that said we needed this, but it has never been implemented. The people need it. And we need our civil rights back and little civil stingers and state med tort laws as well. We need to talk about this, and we need to stop utilizing state laws to harm we the people. We need some minimum federal standards to rein in these state laws that have been bought out by groups like ALEC that own both freaking parties. Good day, and remember this young lady and to call out the other ones so that we have somebody that we can vote for that will be there for all of us. Not just a select few or the other half. All of us. All injured workers in America. Thank you, and have a great day.